It's April 1st, 2019. This is Struggling for Purpose, and I'm your host, John Wilkerson. Today I want to talk about a movie review, a movie that I watched recently, The Pilgrim's Progress. Now, I watched this before it's going to be available in the theaters, and I'm going to provide a review to you, and I just want to let you know from the outset that this is part of a promotion. And at the end of this podcast, I'm going to share with you how you can win one of 3 pairs of tickets and a storybook for this movie. Now, movies have been used for years as a way to reach people with the gospel. However, in some countries, unapproved religious content isn't permitted. If you're a Christian, if you've been a Christian for any period of time, there's probably a list of countries that are coming to mind right now. But what's interesting is that allegories like the Pilgrim's Progress can subvert the censors in countries where preaching the gospel is prohibited and give missionaries a tool to share the love of Christ with people who desperately need it. Now, let me share just a little bit about The Pilgrim's Progress. It's been translated, the original novel, into over 200 languages, and it has never been out of print and has sold over 200 million copies, more than any Christian book next to the Bible. It was written in 1678 by John Bunyan while he was in prison for holding religious services. And The Pilgrim's Progress is often cited as the greatest allegory ever written. Now, the 2019 film will be the story's feature-length theatrical debut. In addition, it will be the first computer-animated telling of this timeless tale. Media-driven families can be assured that this centuries-old story can still connect with viewers of all ages. Now, I read that from their media kit and press release that they provided. That is Revelation Media, who are producing this. And this Easter, Revelation Media, they're bringing an adapted animated version of this classic tale to theaters. It stars Ben Price as Christian, Kristen Getty as the interpreter, and John Rhys Davies as evangelist. The theatrical release is for 2 days only, April 18th and the 20th in 2019. That's Easter weekend, basically. And you can buy tickets at pilgrims.movie. And here we go. We'll go into my review here. So I sat down with my family to watch this film not knowing what to expect. I mean, I knew about The Pilgrim's Progress. I knew John Rhys Davies' performance would be top-notch, but I was unfamiliar with the other actors. And to add to that, I didn't really like the animation style. And I think that's because I've become used to seeing what Pixar and Disney produce, and that any other style looks dated or less appealing. So I decided to put aside my issues with the animation and focus more on the plot, the pace, and the performance. Now, the story, of course, is timeless, and Revelation Media's adaptation is approachable, and it retains much of the original style while still making it appealing to modern audiences. Our church had used a Sunday school curriculum based on the novel, so my kids were familiar with the story, and at times they pointed out when things differed from the original, and I had to remind them that's not intended to be an exact copy of the novel. I found the pace of the film to be just right. There's a trend in modern filmmaking right now, and it seems to make these epic tales, and that often means adding or extending scenes to make the running time longer. And I never felt like that happened with this one. I think the 105 minutes of runtime feel just right, and at no point was I looking at my clock, wondering when the film would end. Now, as I expected, John Rhys Davies shined in every scene as evangelist. I've seen him in other small-budget, faith-based films, and he has never just phoned it in. Ben Price's performance as Christian was good as well. I was unfamiliar with him as an actor and thought he did a great job portraying the story's lead character. And most of the other performances were okay too. There's nothing that really stood out to me as far as bad voice acting is concerned. Now, I think it is important for us to keep the purpose of making this film in mind when reviewing it. It's intended to be an outreach tool for missionaries. The message and the method are more important than the medium. And the intended audience really isn't American Christians. It's non-believers in other countries. One of the executive producers of the film, Steve Cleary, worked for the Voice of the Martyrs, so he's familiar with what it takes to reach people in difficult situations. Now, I have an interview scheduled with Steve, and I'm looking forward to talking to him about the process of creating the Pilgrim's Progress. And I think Steve and everyone else involved succeeded in creating a film that will reach millions with the gospel and help lead people into a saving knowledge of Christ. I think one of the things that people don't realize is how difficult it is to make a film. And if you want to hear some stories about how difficult that is, check out Season 2, Episodes 3 and 4 of the Truce podcast, where a very good friend of mine, Chris Starrin, who has made films, goes into a discussion about Christian filmmaking and how difficult it can be. And so I want to encourage you to check this film out in the theaters and support this film, because you're not just supporting a movie studio. You're supporting a ministry that's going to use the proceeds from ticket sales to get this movie translated into the top 100 languages in the world so that the gospel can be spread. All right, so as part of the promotion for this film, I am giving away 3 illustrated storybooks and 3 $25 Fandango e-gift cards redeemable for the Pilgrim's Progress. And they're only redeemable for this movie. Only U.S. residents are eligible for this giveaway, and each winner will receive a storybook and a gift card. So here's what you need to do. You need to head on over to strugglingforpurpose.com/Pilgrim's Progress. And there in that blog post, you will see a little entry widget. And the minimum you need to do is comment on my blog. And you have other options there as well that involve Twitter and Instagram. And I hope that you'll take advantage of those as well. Now, this episode came out a little bit late because there was a review embargo and I couldn't release the episode on the 30th. And I do intend to have an interview with the executive producer, Steve Cleary, for you on the 10th, even before this contest is over. The contest is going to end on the 12th, and it starts today on April 1st. So I hope you'll check this out, and I hope that in this instance, if you're one of those people who kind of poo-poos Christian films, that you actually consider supporting this one because of what they're trying to do with the film. This isn't just to make money. This is to spread the gospel. And there are people in the rest of the world that really need to hear that Jesus loves them. So, with that being said, thanks for listening, and thanks for sticking me in your ears.